Recording in progress.
Welcome back to the channel, another broadcast. Paul Peter, Scotland, recovered addict. I'm really pleased to be joined today by Emma.
Good morning, Paul. Emma, calling in from Southwest London. Thank you so much for having me here this morning.
Oh, I'm right, glad you could come along. It's great to meet you and hear your message. Appreciate you being here, taking time to participate in our recovery today. It's a good day to have a good day, family. It's a chilly morning here in Scotland. No desire to drink and drug. There is a solution, connection, prayer, contemplation, literature, supporting others, taking the right kind of calls. Of course, these glorious 12 steps on this Cocaine Anonymous YouTube channel, which you can find anytime by logging onto YouTube and putting in Cocaine Anonymous 12 step, and then press search. You can put 12 step probably once, and it will miraculously appear the CA icon. There's now, well, I think there's over 105 or so broadcasts on here. There's about 40 different personal stories. There's podcasts on each of the steps. There's 2 for step 1, 2 for step 2, and 2 for step 4. There's podcasts on each of the traditions. There's various playlists. We've got podcasts that are kind of like a recorded meeting. They're not actually a convened meeting. We've had several of us share as a group kind of thing. And there's also podcasts on the entire psychic change, the spiritual malady, and the ABCs of addiction. So please do fill your boots and check out all the wonderful broadcasts that have already been made. So I'm really pleased to be joined by the wonderful Emma today, who's kind of come along to share her experience, strength, and hope with the group and with our listeners. Oh, one last point: if anyone is new and you're looking for sponsorship, we maintain current male and female sponsorship list, which we're happy to send out to individuals, preferably via WhatsApp. So if you're listening to this and you're looking for sponsorship, if you put your first name and your number beneath wherever you see this posted, we will get back to you. There's also a whole host of resources that are free, of course, and there is also a plethora of Zoom meetings where you can get wonderful messages around the clock, and there'll be information about how to get to Zoom meetings on the screen during this broadcast, which you can pause, rewind, fast forward at any point. Feel free to like, share, and subscribe and comment. So without further ado, I just want to hand the floor over to Emma.
Thank you so much, Paul. Good morning. My name is Emma, and I'm very grateful to be here this morning to share my experience, strength, and hope. I hope I'm able to carry a message. This is the first podcast I've ever recorded, so I'm very excited. So I'll speak about my background for a bit. I had a pretty standard upbringing. I was very lucky. I came from quite a middle-class family. So as a child, I was well-travelled. I had an amazing opportunity through my nan to be able to dance for 25 years. So I was able to go and perform at the London Palladium and Sadler's Wells and do the Mardi Gras at Disneyland Paris. So materialistically, I never went without. And my parents got divorced when I was 7 years old. And I'm pretty sure that's when my mum started drinking, or it's when it became noticeable anyway. I was a bit of a weird child. Not much has changed, to be honest. But I never really fit in. I was very socially awkward and I struggled to make friends. I would have one friend and that's the friend that I would stick to. You would never really find me in a big group of people. And I was bullied throughout primary school, secondary school and college. And I think that in my adolescent years turned me into quite an abrupt, hard-faced person, like didn't take anybody's nonsense, kind of learned how to speak up for myself, but in the wrong way. Yeah, so when I was 14 years old, I got diagnosed with borderline personality disorder. Borderline personality disorder, or BPD, is not a hereditary mental illness, so it can't be passed down through generations. It was given to me through emotional neglect, / abuse. So I was exposed to long-term fear or abandonment trauma, etc. And it altered my brain chemistry permanently. And this is where my first two resentments started. So I resented my mum and my dad hugely for the cause of this. And that was a great excuse for me to start rebelling and acting out. And, you know, I was very misunderstood because borderline personality disorder wasn't really well known 20 years ago. It wasn't diagnosed very often. So my mum didn't have any understanding or knowledge around it. Neither did I. Well, she has a 14-year-old child. So I did therapy things, but it just didn't sink in. I was young still, so I couldn't comprehend what was quote unquote wrong with me. So I was always classed as like a drama queen. I'm being very emotional, over the top, and my feelings and things were dismissed very quickly because people couldn't understand why I was reacting a certain way, because it was not a normal way to react in their eyes. So anyway, so I've been diagnosed with BPD at 14 years old, and I start stealing from my mum. I'm stealing her cigarettes, I'm stealing her alcohol, I'm stealing money out of her purse, to the point where she has to get a lock on her bedroom door, and lock her handbag in there, so I can't get in there to steal anything from her. And my mum favoured my brother as well when I was younger. And my mum would always say to me, your nan does everything for you, so I need to do all of this for your brother. And he was like the golden child. I was the black sheep of the family. And my nan pretty much raised me, in my opinion. She did everything for me, while my mum very openly said that because my nan does everything for me, she had to do everything for my brother. And my brother could do no wrong. No wrong. At 15 years old, I discovered weed. And I didn't really like the effects of weed, but I liked that it made me quote unquote popular. I now all of a sudden have this group of friends that want to hang out with me. We're sneaking off before our PE lesson to go to the woods to smoke weed at school. And my teachers never knew because I was a teacher's pet. I did very well academically. I always used to go to like the IT room in my breaks to do my coursework and stuff. I always handed in my homework on time and things, never got in trouble. So they would have never known that I was sneaking off to do these things, let alone dealing it. So I'm smoking weed at 15, I'm dealing it at school, but I still managed to get my GCSEs. And then I leave school with my GCSEs and I get my first job. And I'm now working. I've got my first job. I'm working to kind of pay my way through college. But I've now got my first boyfriend. And I'm like, he's the love of my life. I'm going to spend the rest of my life with this man. It's amazing. So instead of turning up to college, I'm choosing to go to his house and we're drinking. We're drinking in the day. I'm not going home till late at night. I'm 17 years old now, and I ended up pregnant. And that was the scariest thing for me at 17 years old, was to tell my mum. I didn't know how I was going to tell her. And she did take me to have an abortion, which I don't regret today, because the way that I was going and my life was heading, I definitely was not ready to have a child at 17 years old. So I get kicked out of college because I'm not showing up. I'm choosing to party all the time. I'm very aggressive. I'm fighting people in the woods outside college. I'm arguing with my friends, because this is what alcohol turned me into, but I didn't see a problem with it at the time. Fast forward a year to 18 years old, I'm out clubbing with my friends, because I really enjoyed the party scene, the party life, the nightlife, you know, the music and getting drunk with friends. And I get a phone call while I'm out clubbing and I get told my nan has passed away. This was the most devastating news I'd ever received. not only is it the first person that I've ever lost that's close to me, it's also my nan, who's pretty much raised me. She's not my nan, she's my mum to me. And up until this point, I'd always said no to cocaine. My friends had started dabbling with it, and I'd always said no. I know exactly how addictive it is. I don't want to touch it ever. I find out my nan has died. My friend said to me, "Do you want a line?" I said, "Yes, please." And that was the worst decision of my life, because now I've put this drug in me, and all of a sudden, this emotional pain that I'm feeling from the death of my nan has disappeared. I don't feel like I'm dying inside now. I'm numb. I can do life, you know. So I want more of it. I want more. I don't ever want to be sober with this feeling of grief. I want more. So I'm that's it now. My life's starting to spiral. I can't hold down a job because I want to party 24/7, constantly falling out with friends. I'm getting in trouble with the police. You know, I'm losing my jobs because I'm going out raving. I've been introduced to the rave scene now, so I'm getting my hands on MDMA, ketamine, pills, shrooms, acid, balloons, you name it, I did it. Anything apart from crack or heroin, because my deluded brain said to me, crack and heroin is a dirty drug, so don't ever go near those. But I'm putting every other drug I can find into my body. So I'm getting arrested. I can't hold down a job. You know, I'm very promiscuous because I'm always seeking approval and validation. And I sought it through my childhood years as well, because I never got the approval and validation from my parents. So I always sought it from my teachers. And now at 19 years old, I'm seeking this approval and validation from men. At the age of 20 and 23 and 27, I experienced I experienced 3 pretty serious relationships. I'm with these men for about 2 to 3 years, but they don't work out because Emma has chosen to be with these men because they're drug dealers. Yes, amazing, incredible. I don't have to pay for my drugs anymore. I've hit the jackpot. But it's not so fun when you're both on a come down, you're all out of money. You've run out of everything, and it just ends up in arguments. But this wasn't enough for me to stop. I got pregnant with my daughter when I was 26. And if I'm completely honest with you, I used throughout my pregnancy. And I share this because it's part of my truth. And if there's anybody in these rooms that has done that and has not got the courage to, I really hope that this gives you the courage to be honest. And I'm not ashamed of it. I accept it for the fact that I was sick at the time. I was a very sick person. I had an obsession of the mind, an allergy of the body, and I didn't know how to stop, and I didn't know how to cope with life. And I did use through my pregnancy. But I was blaming my using on my daughter's dad at the time. You know, oh, you're putting it in front of me. Of course I'm going to use. You know, it's all his fault. It's not me. I've still not got a problem in my head. I'm not an addict. My daughter was born 5 weeks premature. I was very, very lucky that there was nothing medically wrong with my daughter because I used throughout my pregnancy. But this still wasn't enough for me to stop. I break up with my daughter's dad after her first birthday, and I remember saying to myself, if I break up with him, I've got to stop using, because if I don't stop using, I may as well have stayed with him. So I know at this point, you know, I'm getting a little inkling that my life is not okay, and that what I'm doing needs to be stopped. I just don't know how. So I still didn't stop though. Not even my own child was enough to stop me using. And I'm having strangers around my house because now I'm a mum. I can't go out anywhere. I can't go partying like I used to. So I have strangers in my home partying next door to my daughter's bedroom where she's sleeping. all night. You know, next morning there's empty bottles everywhere, there's baggies everywhere. I'm absolutely dead in bed, can't function. You know, it's not great. It's really not great. But I still thought I was a good mum because my daughter's was always clothed, she was always fed, and my bills were paid. The year of my daughter's first birthday, I lost my nan and my granddad in the space of 3 months. So more grief now, and I haven't dealt with the first grief of my nan passing away, and now I've lost my other nan and my granddad. So these are another two great excuses for me to pick up. And 3 years ago, one of my best friends was murdered. And I also lost my 18-month-old niece to cancer, and I lost my dog. And all of these, for me, these are great justifications for me to keep using. Yeah, I'm grieving, so I need to go and have a drink and put a drug in my body. You know, all these excuses that we have. And it didn't even have to be on negative reasons, you know. If I'd got up and done my housework that day, yeah, I'm going to celebrate, I'm going to treat myself, I'm going to go and get myself a bottle of wine, and I know as soon as I go and get a bottle of wine, I'm going to want to get a bag of Coke, and it just goes from there. We all know how it goes. Once we put one in us, we have that allergic reaction and we cannot stop. I'm also stealing off my friends. I'm lying to my friends. I'm emotionally abusing them, if I'm completely honest, going on and on and on and on until they give in and send me money, even if they didn't have it and they had to borrow it off somebody else to send it to me. I did not care as long as I got that money so I could get another pack. And this has really helped. My addiction led me to 5 o'clock in the morning, birds are chirping, my nose is bleeding, I'm throwing up from the amount of alcohol I've eaten. I've got my TV on volume 2 because anything louder than that is going to wake my child up. Any sound at all, I think, oh God, my daughter's woken up now. I'm absolutely paranoid out of my brain. And I think this is completely normal behaviour. And I came into these rooms 2 years ago. I was first introduced to CA UK 2 years ago through a friend. They were coming to a meeting and they said, well, why don't you come with me? And I said, okay, fine, I'll come along with you. I didn't know what CA was. I'd never heard of it. I didn't know anything about the program. But I was like, okay, well, if you're going, I'll come along. Yeah, great. I came to a meeting and I was like, oh, so this program's going to teach me how to control my using. Amazing. I've hit the jackpot now. I still don't think I have an addiction at this point 2 years ago, but I did know I wanted to stop, but I wasn't at my rock bottom. I wasn't done. So I've struggled with the word God as well. So because I struggled with the word God, because I didn't think there was this invisible entity that was going to do anything for me in recovery, I'm not doing my program. I'm not doing my Gratsis, and I'm white knuckling basically. I'm doing 30 days and then I relapse, another 30 days and then I relapse. And I managed to get 9 months under my belt 2 years ago. And then I relapsed because I was white knuckling because I wasn't putting in any action. I wasn't working my program. And I spent the best part of last year back in active addiction, convincing myself every week it was just a relapse, but it wasn't. I was back in active addiction. I came back from my last relapse 140 days ago. And this time I really knew I was done. The last time I used, I knew I'd had enough. I was like, I do not want to live my life like this anymore. I don't know how to stop. At this point, I don't want to live, but I don't want to die. I just don't know what to do anymore. I'm completely hopeless. I'm broken. I'm on my knees. I've tried everything. I've tried to control it my way. I'm running on self-will, as I have been for the last 20 years of my addiction. And this time when I came back in, I've completely surrendered. I've gone, I know I can't do it on my own now. But I had to be ready. I had to be willing. If you're coming into these rooms and you're not fully ready to surrender your life and hand your life over, and you're willing to put in the action, it's not going to work for you. And I can tell you that through I'm a serial relapser. I can promise you now this program will not work for you if you're not ready to surrender and you're not going to be willing to put in the action and do the suggestions that are given to you. So I'll come back in 140 days ago. I'm done. I've done step 1, admitted I was powerless over alcohol and all mind-altering substances, and that my life had become unmanageable. Yes, my life was unmanageable. Step 2, came to believe that a power greater than myself could restore me to sanity. I had to believe now. I didn't have a choice. This is life or death now. If I carried on going the way I was going, I was going to die. You know, I've got police involved. I've got social services involved. I'm very, very lucky that my daughter wasn't taken out of my care. And I know that I don't ever want that to happen, but I didn't know how to stop. So now, you know, step 3, made a decision to turn my will and my life over to the care of God as I understood. Yes, please, please, God. My life is unmanageable. I don't know how to cope. I don't know how I'm going to get through this. I don't know how I'm going to stop. So please take my life and help me. Step 4, made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. So step 4, I worked through with my sponsor. As I did with all my other previous steps as well, our sponsor takes us through all our 12 steps. So I was sent away with a worksheet, and it had about a list of 7 words: resentment, jealousy, envy, fear, and a few other words. And I went away with that and was given a week, and I had to write people, places, and things next to each one. Who am I resentful towards, and why am I resentful towards them? Step 5, admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being, aka my sponsor, the exact nature of my wrongs. Now, this step was very emotional for me because I'm speaking with my sponsor, who I trust completely, and I know I can be 100% honest with about anything. But it was emotional for me because I'm speaking about things that I've very rarely spoken about or never spoken about at all. These secrets that I've been holding on to for such a long time that I've never shared with another person because I was so petrified of being judged, and they've just eaten me alive. And it was an emotional step for me, but it was very freeing as well because I've let it out. You know, I've shared it with somebody else. I've taken the power out of it. And it was really lovely to just say it without being judged. It was a safe space for me to share. Step 6, we're entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. Yes, please. My sponsor's given me my defects of character when we went through step 4 and 5. And it was very humbling because I never thought I was the problem. It was always everybody else around me. But my defects include dishonest, expectation, anger, critical, envious, intolerant, impatient, heartless, selfish, gossip. I have a long, long list of defects. But the beautiful part about learning about your defects of character is that we get to flip them into assets. So that was the next thing I did before I got to step 7, is I got to go away and flip my defects of character into assets. So I'm looking at my character defects and thinking, oh my God, that is me. But then I look down at my assets and I'm like, but that's also me. You know, my character defects don't define who I am. They're just part of me when I was in the madness. So for me to be able to understand and recognize my part in situations, I need to know my defects of character. Step 7, humbly asked him to remove my shortcomings. Yes, I'm very judgmental. I'm very selfish. I'm very intolerant. You know, again, defects of character are included in my shortcomings. I need to work on these, and I know I need to work on myself before I am able to right my wrongs. I need to understand myself, but self-knowledge is not enough to keep us sober. But it's an incredible journey to go on to start learning about yourself. Step 8, made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. I never thought I was going to be able to forgive my parents. I'd held on to that resentment for years, used it as an excuse to use for years. But by the time I got to step 8 and 9, and I've spoken about, you know, how I feel about the situation and how I think that, you know, what they've done to me, but then realizing, well, you know, maybe actually we need to flip it round, and you see it from a different aspect. So by the time I get to step 9, made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. I'm ready to sit down, and the way I did my amends is I wrote letters to people. And I took my time with this. I didn't want to say sorry just because I was on step 9 and I needed to say sorry. I really wanted it to come from a genuine place. So I took my time and I waited for my higher power to kind of say to me, you know, today's the day you need to write this letter to so and so. And I'm so grateful that I'm able to sit here today and start repairing the carnage and damage that I've caused to everybody around me, because me and the madness, I was like a hurricane. I sucked everybody in and then threw them back out when I was done with them. Step 10, continued to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. I do a step 10 every single day, at least once a day, because this teaches me to pause when people, places, or things disturb me. And when I say disturb me, you know, like they affect me somehow. So someone irritates me, or I'm really upset about something, or I'm feeling really overwhelmed. I sit down and I do a step 10, and this teaches me to pause in the moment rather than react. And it teaches me, you know, when I work through it, I get a better understanding of why I'm feeling the way I'm feeling, and how to work through it. So you turn it into assets and what action you need to put in, because there is always an action you need to put in. There is always something you can do. Step 11, sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him, praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. When I don't have the answers, I sit in prayer or meditation, and I humbly ask God to give me the answer that I need. And I never pray for myself. I only ever pray for myself. It is if I'm going to be able to help someone else from it. Because if I'm praying for myself, I'm being very selfish. So we're learning how to be selfless, you know? God, please help me get through whatever it is I'm feeling today so I can be helpful to somebody else. Step 12. Having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we try to carry this message to alcoholics and to practice these principles in all our affairs. I'm very grateful to be able to sit here today and to be able to share my experience, strength, and hope, and carry that message, whatever that message may be. I feel very blessed to be able to help people. And I'm very loud about my recovery because I'm not ashamed of where I've come from. I'm not ashamed of my past. It's part of me. It's who I was. Who I was. It's not who I am today. And in order for us to heal, we need to accept our past. If we don't accept and forgive ourselves, we cannot be useful to somebody else. I get to sponsor people today. I have 5 sponsees. I never ever thought I would be in this position. I never thought I would get through my step work, let alone be a sponsor, and let alone be sitting here recording a podcast on my story. It's mind-blowing to me, if I'm completely honest. And an absolute blessing at the same time. So, you know, what is my life like today? I'm 140 days in since my last relapse, and I'm learning to love myself today. I have fellows around me who are also becoming friends. I've actually completed my step work this time, which is something I never did when I first came into these rooms 2 years ago. This time, back from my last relapse, is the only time I have ever done my steps, because I knew there was no other way. I have an amazing sponsor who is armed with the facts and ready to put in action to help me and support me and guide me. I get to be a present mum today. You know, I'm waking up in the mornings and getting my daughter to school on time every single day. I'm not phoning in once a week saying, oh, yes, she can't come in this morning because she's sick. Actually, I'm the one that's sick. I'm so hungover, I can't physically get out of bed, or I'm still awake from the night before, absolutely pinging. And I just couldn't even begin to even think about leaving the house. But that's not who I am today. I get to take her to school today, every day. I'm not affecting her, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm not affecting her education. I get to sit down and play games with her today. I can now help her through her emotions and how she's feeling, because I want to. I'm not rushing her into bed to put a drink and drug in my body anymore. I get to do service. I have service 3 times a week that keeps me connected in the rooms, and I'm very grateful for that, because, you know, I may be 140 days in and work in a program, but, you know, that doesn't mean that you're never going to think about using again. Yesterday was my birthday and my friend came over, and I just suddenly had the thought of, oh, we could just have a zoot between us. And then I thought, actually, I better not, because I'm doing a main share at 10 o'clock. So because I had service and commitments on a meeting, it stopped me going back out there. It kept me in these rooms. It kept me connected. You know, I look after myself today. I have self-care today. And for me, self-care is not over the top things like going to do like a spa weekend and things like that. For me, self-care is just getting out of bed, brushing my teeth, getting dressed, doing some washing, you know, having a bath, all these things that I neglected when I was in the madness that I never did. I have a better home dynamic with my child. You know, we have a clean home today. I'm looking after our home today. And I'm cooking. I actually cook meals today. She's happier. I'm happier. I can sit here and say, for the first time in a long time, I'm genuinely happy with my life. And when I first came into these rooms, I was very scared of what sober life would be, because I've been in active addiction since I was 13, 14 years old. And, you know, I can sit here and tell you that, yes, sober life scares me because I don't know what it means, but I can 100% tell you that it's better than being back out there in the madness. I never, ever want to go back out there to that. Me 1 year ago on my birthday would have been absolutely smashed. I would have had drinks the day before my birthday as pre-drinks. But I did my first sober birthday yesterday. And not only did I do my first sober birthday, I also did my first sober Christmas and my first sober New Year's. So there were a lot of firsts for me. And I can't explain to you the joy that it gives me to have been able to get through it. But I wouldn't have been able to do it if it wasn't for people in these rooms working their steps before me. Someone's 12th step was my first step. with everybody else that were in these rooms, it made sure that I managed to get back from the madness, you know. And last time I went out there, I was nearly back out there for a year. And if I go back out there again, I'm probably not going to make it back. And that's the reality of this disease. You know, it is life or death. And I don't want to die today. I don't want to die. I want to live. I want to enjoy my life sober. And you can enjoy your life sober. I'm doing it. I'm living proof as there, you know, thousands, hundreds of thousands of other people doing the exact same. All you've got to do is follow these simple suggestions and instructions that are in your big book, and you can live a life beyond your wildest dreams. And for me, a life beyond my wildest dreams is I get to wake up every morning. My addiction didn't kill me, unfortunately, like it has for a lot. I got to live. And because I get to live, I'm working so hard to never go back out that door so I can carry this message and help other people. I have hope today. The reason I have hope is because of people in these rooms sharing their experience, strength, and hope. So it gives me hope that I will be able to get where they are at one day. It gives me hope that I too can recover. I have faith. I have my higher power to always support me, love me, and guide me and talk to me. And I can talk to them whenever I need to. My higher power is the universe. It is angel numbers. It is seeing certain animals at certain times. It's hearing certain words. It's deja vus. That is my understanding of God. And I have courage. And I'll end it on this. When I came back from my last relapse, I told one of my very good friends, and they sent me a message, and this message repeats in my head every single day. And they said to me, it takes a lot of courage to admit that you've got a problem and to want to do something about it. And I promise you, you can recover. This program has saved my life. And I will forever be grateful. And I'm so proud of everybody that is in these rooms, that has made it into these rooms and is working their program. And if you are a newcomer and you're not really too sure where to turn, what to do, but you know your life is unmanageable, come into one of these meetings and have a listen. Find the similarities, not the differences, because I promise you now, there are a lot of, we've all come from the same damaging past, and we've come together to get recovered. And I'll leave it at that. Thank you so much for having me here this morning.
Wonderful. That was a beautiful share, Emma. I appreciate you taking time out of your day to carry this message far and wide of hope, freedom, courage, and strength. That was epic. Really, really good. Beautiful. Just briefly, a few announcements. If there's anyone here looking for sponsorship, we maintain male and female sponsorship list. You can let us know in the chat wherever you see this posted. We'll get back to you. There's a whole plethora of meetings. It's already been flashed on the screen, but I'll put it on the screen again in a few moments, how you can get to Zoom meetings and hear wonderful folk and wonderful messages just like we've been listening to there. And you get some encouragement, some assurance, some identification of the problem and the solution. And you too can lose that self-centered delusion, drinking, drugging. You know, a sponsor is someone that's been through the process, had a vital spiritual experience, is willing to freely take you through the 12-step process so you can be set free from delusion of drinking and drugging and find a new lifestyle, and then support others in this wonderful process of sobriety. Also, there's a vast array of other podcasts on this channel, family, so do listen to those. Feel free to comment if you want to appear on one of these podcasts. Let us know in the chat and we will get back to you. Emma, that was epic. That was really, really strong. It really, really was. And, you know, I urge you to share a little bit of share time to enjoy hearing the message and how real it is and how poignant and vital and topical it is. Every word, really. And, you know, working with others has afforded me the perspective of seeing both the illness and the program work in people's lives, you know, and you know, we don't take a day off in sobriety, do we? You know, we show up, we're responsible, we are there. You know, whether anyone else shows up, we show up. and we're present, aren't we? You know, we just do our best and God does the rest. Yeah, I really enjoyed your share, you know, and just in a very general way. I mean, you know, you mentioned about being irresponsible, you know, around your child, and you mentioned about just the feelings around that and being unable to function sufficiently, shall we say, you know, and normally, shall we use that word, normally. And I relate, you know, those awful mornings where you knew you'd spent up, you felt bad, you know, you'd started off the obsession again. And ultimately, what it boils down to is for me, it was the consumption of basically plant extracts, chemicals, whether it was injected, smoked, snorted. You know, it was the ingestion of plant extracts to change my mood and mind. You know, and it became a daily thing. And the problem with the addict's alcoholic mind is, if it's a good idea, why not do it round the clock? Yeah. And it is progressive, you know, and anyone can recover, whether they're once a month binge. I've known folk ruin their marriages, their jobs, their minds, and their bodies having a 2 or 3 day a month binge, you know, and conversely, and they've got recovery. I've known people 20 years at it on the streets, up to all kinds of stuff, living out the spoon and the pipe, get clean and stay clean. You know, miracles happen in these rooms. So, you know, just in a very general sense, you talked about sponsorship, and you talked also about service in meetings, Emma. How formative and how vital would you say those two things are in a person's recovery?
Yeah, having a sponsor is so important, because a sponsor is somebody that has already been through their steps. They're armed with the facts, they're ready to guide and support and give us the knowledge and the answers that were so freely given to them. And service, yeah, like I was saying before, you know, yesterday, the service kept me in the rooms. The service stopped me from using, you know, commitments, sharing. I host on a Friday evening, and I host on a Saturday, and I co-host on a Wednesday, so it keeps me busy. And if I'm busy, I'm not thinking about using.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And being fluid in solution, and working with others is still helping me learn how to grow and understand effectiveness, you know, to carry this life-saving message. And to anyone that's new, it can seem like a flimsy read, the program, particularly if you're listening to this and you're still using and boozing. You know, you might be like, oh, what use is this? Well, I can tell you, it may seem like a flimsy read that's being offered to help you out of the sea of addiction. But for most of us, it proves to be the loving hand of an all-powerful creator that's helping us get free of our own bad choices, ultimately, and our own folly. You know, and this problem is an illness. It is a disease. You know, but those descriptions are very weak. And potentially hazardous, because I've known people choose to pick up. They say, "Oh, it's an illness. Go and get some gear." Well, I think you need to grow in understanding. It is an illness, however, that's insufficient. It's a self-centered, foolish, bodily and mental illness. And it was only when the kind doctor explained that to Lois first, while Bill was half dead in bed, and she was convinced that because he was such a super chap in other areas of life that he'd be fine. And Silkworth said to her, "Well, he won't be fine unless he can recover from this insanity of another drink. He's not going to recover." And it was only when it was explained to Wilson that whilst he'd been bodily and mentally ill, he'd also been selfish and foolish, that he began to see. And we now know, thanks to, well, the best advice of the doctors is this program, entire abstinence. That's what it has to be for us, Emma, isn't it? And the best of psychiatrists says, I need an ongoing, vital spiritual experience. The best of faith groups tells me I need a transparent, accountable relationship with higher power, with God. For me, the higher power is Jehovah, the God of Israel, the God of the Jews. For others, it can be a spirit of the universe. For others, it's Allah. For others, it can be the meeting. You know, you mentioned the universe there. The book makes it clear it has to be an intelligent higher power, and we're free to choose our conception of that higher power. And when I work with others, you know, to help them to see the need for change and how the change happens, it happens through that consistent practice. You know, you mentioned sponsorship, folk ringing up like wanting serious advice or in a right pickle, you know, real folk with real problems. And they're like, you know, however much we say we don't give advice, in the real world, the program, the literature, and the steps, it's all a form of advice, you know, and real people ring up with real problems, you know, wanting real solutions. They don't ring up for gear, you know, they're ringing up like, help. And so it does keep you in the middle of the boat, you know, and it helps you keep things real, I think, and helps us stay balanced, you know. So you mentioned sponsorship and service there. What does, like, do you do morning devotions, Emma? I find them invaluable. Morning devotions, does that form a part of what you do every day? Or?
Yeah, so every morning when I wake up after I've taken my daughter to school, I come home and I actually just put some meditation music on and I sit and I do my gratitude list. That is something that I do daily as a gratitude list, 10 things I am grateful for, because I tend to wake up with a very negative attitude because that's the addict in me. My sickness wants to keep me sick. It wants to keep me isolated. It wants me to feel like I'm worthless and not worthy of recovery. So by doing my gratitude list every morning, it alters my way of thinking. And I'm like, actually, I have all these beautiful things to be grateful for that I don't want to lose through using today. And I have a very open connection with my higher power as well. You know, if I don't have the answers to something, I pray to my higher power. I pray every single day in my head or out loud. Very simple prayers sometimes. You know, if someone irritates me, it's bless them, change me, bless them with your love, God, and change me in the way that I handle this today.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, I found it crucial, you know, and almost everyone that I've known pick up again, it's as a result of stopping doing morning devotions, stopping building that conscious contact with their creator, and stopping helping other folk, and, you know, staying connected with the sober network, and really working the program. I don't know if I'd say it's a full-time job, but it certainly, you know, it does take up a good hour or two. It ought to stay well, to stay mentally and emotionally well, and to be sober-minded. You know, I think it is a commitment. And when we were using, with no problem sitting around out of it, hours and hours all day, every day for many of us. You know, and with no problem getting our gear. We're never subjected to any scientific or medical tests. Many of us would have half of it done before we got home, you know. Well, come into these rooms, folks, if you're listening to this, and, you know, take these suggestions. And if it doesn't work, you know, your misery's always there. There's plenty of drink-and-drugs out there. But just for today, we don't use no matter what. We have a commitment to entire abstinence on the basis of what happens when we don't. And then we get spiritual power to stay honest, basically, and we have the responsibility to maintain a spiritual condition, and that's what it looks like in the real world. You know, all the solutions in the literature, the steps, morning devotions, adventure, supporting others, and basically, if you take care of what's right in your life and circumstances, God will take care of what's left. So we're pretty much at there now. I just want to give the floor to you, Emma. You know, if you wished, anything, closing thoughts for our listeners, anything you want to share, and you want to tell the wide world about sobriety.
Yeah, please. I've just thought has just come to me to just share, you know, recovery is hard. It is hard. And some days we're going to wake up and think, oh, I really can't be bothered to work this program. But you have to think of, we went to any lengths in our addiction to get what we wanted. So we need to apply that to our recovery, and recovery works. It's a simple program for complicated people. We love to overcomplicate things. And if, you know, and if recovery was easy, we wouldn't have a program at the end of the day. But these rooms and these meetings are full of so much love, so much support, so much courage. You know, it's a we program, not an I program. You know, we're not doing it on our own. We're doing it together. And that is something that is an absolute blessing for me, because all through my madness, I was me, I've got to do everything on my own, and it didn't work. But I have like-minded fellows around me today who want to see me get better and will do absolutely anything to help me. And that's why I work my program, so I can give back what was so freely given to me.
Oh, lovely. Thank you, Emma. That was beautiful. I'm so glad you could come along today to record your message. That was great. So this broadcast will be live, and as I say, if you're looking for help on the screen there's a whole range of meetings, all those meetings which you can pause, rewind, fast forward, share this podcast with us wherever you will, family. But on this screen, all these meetings are on every single day. I'm part of a group there that's on 3 times a day, every day, all year round. It's been going well over 5 years now. Very healthy, successful group called We Can Recover on Zoom. But all of their meetings are on every single day. There's now a dozen different 24-hour marathon meetings that are permanently on. The UK Samaritans number's at the bottom right, as is the CA UK helpline. Yeah, so, I came for my drinking, but I stayed for my thinking. The addict brain, the alcoholic mind, is one that's often bedeviled with delusion, with fear, with confusion, and it's possible to recover from those things. But as with physical sobriety, in order to stay recovered, you have to be in recovery. The lower power, the devil, addiction is all about fear, confusion, and accusation. Always the same: fear, confusion, accusation, and oppression. You're no good. Oh, you'd better be in fear of him or her. What about what they said? What about what you said? What about this? What about that? And the lower power alcoholism wants us to feel bad, low self-image, low self-worth, so that we go and fix ourselves with drink and drugs, Well, our medication is this program. It's morning devotion, nightly adventure, literature meetings, working with others, these steps, growing in understanding, effectiveness, and maintaining a fit spiritual condition. That's precisely what this is. In these rooms, we can tell you precisely how to recover, not maybe, or kind of, or possibly, but precisely. And I've never seen anyone feel that's thoroughly followed this path, but it is a lifestyle, so welcome to anyone that's new. Get involved, take some action. You never, ever need to use or booze again. It's a program of mercy and truth and acceptance and willingness, self-awareness, vigilance, and supporting others. Emma, I just want to take this opportunity to thank you again for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
And it's been just wonderful. Okay, family, stay strong in the solution. Keep moving for good nutrition, hydration, fresh air, and exercise. There's always a solution: acceptance and action.